been lied to, not by women, by yourself. Every rejection, every ghost, every relationship that collapsed without warning, you blamed her. You were wrong, and that blind spot is costing you everything. Here's the uncomfortable reality most men spend their entire lives running from. You were never taught how women actually operate. You were taught a fairy tale. Be nice, be consistent, be there for her, show her you care. And where did that get you? Overlooked, friend-zoned, replaced. Ask yourself this question, honestly. How many times have you done everything right and still lost? That is not bad luck. That is a strategic failure. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that the greatest danger a man faces is not his enemy's strength. It is his own refusal to see reality as it is. He watched princes lose kingdoms, not because they were weak in battle, but because they were delusional about human nature. You are doing the same thing. Every day you operate on covert contracts, unspoken agreements you invented inside your own head. If I treat her well, she'll respect me. If I'm loyal, she'll stay. If I'm patient, she'll choose me. Nobody signed that contract. Nobody agreed to those terms. You built a prison out of assumptions and then wondered why you felt trapped. That ends today. Your failure with women is not a character flaw. It is a knowledge gap, and knowledge gaps are fixable. What you've been calling bad luck, Machiavelli would call preventable defeat. Today, we rewire the operating system. Stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you will understand 1. Why women respond to reality, not your intentions. 2. How emotional stoicism makes you magnetic, not cold. 3. Why chasing destroys your position every single time. 4. The information asymmetry that women exploit without even knowing it. 5. How validation seeking is the single fastest way to lose her respect. 6. Why mystery is a weapon and you've been handing yours away for free. 7. The final principle that separates sovereign men from permanent prey. Stay until the end, because that 7th principle is the one nobody is talking about, and it will change how you move forever. She doesn't respond to your intentions. She responds to your reality. Here is the first brutal truth. Women do not experience your intentions. They experience your behavior. You can intend to be strong. You can intend to be confident. You can intend to be the man she needs. But if your behavior communicates anxiety, neediness, or desperation, that is all she registers. Think of it like this. You can think you're a lion, but if you move like a hyena, nervous, circling, waiting for scraps, every predator in the room reads you correctly. Animals don't negotiate with signals. They read them. Women are no different. This isn't cruelty. This is biology operating at full efficiency. Ask yourself this question right now, honestly. Does your behavior in her presence reflect a man with options or a man auditioning? There is a concept in behavioral psychology called cognitive dissonance. It means holding two contradictory beliefs simultaneously. Most men suffer from a catastrophic version of it. They believe they are high value, but their actions broadcast scarcity. They text back in 30 seconds. They rearrange their entire schedule for a woman who hasn't committed. They apologize for opinions they haven't even fully expressed yet. Machiavelli warned, men judge by appearances. He wasn't being cynical. He was being precise. Your reality, the life you've built, the frame you hold, the way you carry yourself under pressure, that is your actual currency. Intentions are invisible. Reality is not. Audit your last 5 interactions with women you're attracted to. Count how many times you over-explained, over-apologized, or bent your schedule. Each one is a broadcast signal. Each one told a story you didn't intend to tell. Rebuild the signal. Make your behavior the argument. And if you're thinking that sounds manipulative, hold that thought. Because in the next section, we expose why emotional control isn't manipulation. It's the most honest thing a man can offer. Emotional stoicism is not coldness, it's architecture. Most men have been taught that emotional availability equals attraction. Pour out your feelings, be vulnerable, show her everything. And yet, the men you admire most, the men who seem to move through relationships effortlessly, they don't do that. Why? Because there is a critical difference between emotional depth and emotional leakage. Depth is power, leakage is weakness. Think of a dam. The power of a dam is not the water it releases, it is the water it holds. The controlled release, on its own terms, at its own timing, is what generates energy. The man who dumps his emotions the moment he feels them has no dam, he has a flood, and floods destroy everything downstream. Carl Jung understood this through his framework of shadow integration. The idea that a man who hasn't mastered his own emotional interior becomes a slave to it. He doesn't express emotions strategically, he bleeds them. And bleeding in front of a woman you're trying to build something with, before trust has been established, before a real foundation exists, is not vulnerability. It is desperation wearing vulnerability's clothing. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince ought to have no other aim or thought, nor select anything else for his study than war and its rules and discipline." Replace war with self-mastery. That is the directive. The Stoic man is not cold. He is calibrated. He feels deeply. He processes internally. He reveals selectively that selectivity is not manipulation. It is architecture. When you feel the urge to overshare, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect or to seek reassurance? If the answer is reassurance, stop. Process it internally first. Give her your conclusions, not your chaos. Build the dam. Control the release. Become the source of stability, not another problem she has to manage. But here's where most men make their next catastrophic error. Even after building internal control, they destroy their position through one single, fatal behavior. Chasing is surrender. Stop confusing pursuit with desperation. There is a universal law operating in every human dynamic. Whoever needs the interaction more, loses. Read that again. Whoever needs the interaction more, loses. This isn't game playing. This is a law of perceived value. In nature, the wolf doesn't chase the prey into its den. It holds its ground. It creates pressure through presence, not pursuit. The moment you begin chasing, texting twice before she replies, showing up uninvited, doing favors she didn't request, you have communicated one thing with perfect clarity. She is more valuable than you. And once that perception is established, it calcifies. You cannot unsend the signal. The biological term for this is mate value signaling. Every creature broadcasts it constantly. Every behavior you perform in relation to another person either raises or lowers your perceived value. Chasing is a value-lowering behavior at maximum intensity. It is the behavioral equivalent of wearing a sign that reads, "I have no other options." Ask yourself this question. When was the last time you were deeply attracted to someone who was desperate for your attention? Never. Because desperation triggers repulsion, not compassion. And yet, men chase, not because they're stupid, but because they've never been taught the surgical alternative. Machiavelli was precise about this. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Fear in this context doesn't mean terror. It means respect. It means being the kind of man whose absence creates anxiety, not whose presence creates obligation. Match her energy exactly, no more, no less. If she texts once, you respond once. If she pursues, you engage warmly. If she withdraws, you withdraw further. Your job is not to fill the silence. Your job is to make the silence uncomfortable for her. Become the thing she is uncertain about. Certainty breeds complacency. Uncertainty breeds investment. But even a man who stops chasing can still destroy himself through something more subtle. The next section is about the invisible weapon being used against you right now, and you don't even know it. Information asymmetry. Why she knows more about you than you know about her. This is the section most men skip, and it is the one that costs them the most. In every interaction, romantic, social, professional, there exists what strategists call information asymmetry. One party knows more than the other. Whoever holds less information operates blind, and blind men walk into traps. Here is the brutal reality of modern attraction dynamics. Women are socialized from childhood to read emotional signals. They catalog tone shifts, micro-expressions, behavioral inconsistencies, and verbal patterns with surgical precision. You were not trained for this. You were trained to be direct, transparent, openly communicative, noble qualities in the wrong arena. In the arena of attraction, radical transparency is not a virtue. It is a vulnerability exploit. Think of a chess match where one player can see all the pieces and the other is playing blindfolded. That is most men in romantic dynamics. They reveal their interest too early. They communicate their intentions before trust is established. They answer questions they should be asking. And she, often unconsciously, builds an accurate psychological map of your needs, fears, and pressure points before you've even learned her last name. Sun Tzu, whose strategic philosophy Machiavelli studied deeply, wrote, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." The inversion is equally true. If she knows you and you don't know yourself, you will lose every single time. Observe more than you speak. Ask open questions. Receive answers. Reveal nothing you haven't decided to reveal. This is not paranoia. This is intelligence gathering. Learn what she values, what she fears, what she respects. Map the terrain before you commit your forces. The man who listens surgically knows everything. The man who performs openly knows nothing. But there's a faster way to destroy your position than revealing too much. It's even more invisible. The next section exposes the psychological trap that is running in the background of every single one of your interactions. Validation seeking is the silent killer of attraction. Here is your new diagnostic tool. After every interaction with a woman you're attracted to, ask yourself one question. Was I trying to connect, or was I trying to be approved of? That distinction is everything. Connection builds attraction. Approval seeking destroys it. Validation seeking is the silent predator operating inside most men's interactions. It disguises itself as confidence. It sounds like humor, but the punchline is always waiting for her laugh. It sounds like generosity, but the generosity is always waiting for gratitude. It sounds like strength, but the strength is always performing for an audience of one. This is what psychologists call a covert contract. You give something, a compliment, a favor, a vulnerability, with a hidden expectation of reciprocation. She never agreed to that contract, but you hold her accountable to it anyway. And when she doesn't deliver, you feel resentment. She feels confusion, and the dynamic corrodes. Machiavelli identified this pattern in political leaders, men who sought the approval of the people so desperately that they could not make a single difficult decision. He called it the most dangerous weakness a prince can possess, the need to be liked. Because the man who needs to be liked can be controlled, and a man who can be controlled will never be deeply respected. Speak without monitoring her reaction. State your opinion. Hold it. Don't soften it based on her expression. Give compliments from surplus, not strategy. Only compliment what genuinely moves you. Stop performing. Start being. The man who needs nothing from the interaction is the most compelling man in the room. Even the man who stops seeking validation can still become predictable. And predictability, as the next section reveals, is the death of all desire. Mystery is your most powerful weapon. Stop giving it away for free. You've been handing out your greatest weapon like free samples at a grocery store, and you don't even know you're doing it. That weapon is mystery, specifically the mystery of your interior world. Most men, in an attempt to connect, become completely transparent. They share every opinion on the first date. They text walls of context and explanation. They volunteer their insecurities, their past traumas, their relationship fears within the first weeks of knowing someone. And each disclosure feels like intimacy, but what it actually does is eliminate tension. And eliminated tension is eliminated attraction. Think of a great novel. The reason you turn the page is because you don't know what happens next. The moment the author tells you the ending on page 1, the book is finished. You are the book, and you keep reading the ending out loud before she's had time to get curious. Robert Greene, building directly on Machiavelli's framework, wrote, "The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you are already established in a group, temporarily withdraw from it to make people talk about you and want to see you again. Absence engineers desire. Presence without tension engineers familiarity. And familiarity in attraction dynamics is the enemy of intensity. Develop a rich interior life she cannot fully access. Read, build, pursue goals that exist entirely outside of her awareness. When she asks what you've been doing, give her a compelling fragment, not the whole story. The fragment creates a question. The question creates investment. Leave conversations slightly before they're finished. Texts slightly shorter than expected. Replies slightly slower than she anticipates. You are not being cold. You are building tension. Tension is the architecture of desire. Now we arrive at the principle nobody talks about. The one that sits underneath all 6 we've covered. The one that, if you miss it, makes everything else temporary. Pay attention. The sovereign frame, the only foundation that makes everything else permanent. Everything we've covered, emotional stoicism, strategic withdrawal, information control, eliminating validation seeking, deploying mystery, all of it collapses without this. The sovereign frame. What is a frame? Your frame is the fundamental reality you live inside. It is the set of beliefs you hold about your own worth, your own direction, your own non-negotiables. Every person you interact with is constantly, consciously or not, testing your frame, pushing against it, probing for cracks. The man with a weak frame bends. He adjusts his reality to accommodate hers. He softens his opinions, abandons his standards, restructures his life around her approval, and in doing so, he destroys the very thing that made him attractive in the first place. Because here is the deepest truth in this entire video. Women do not fall for the man who loves them most. They fall for the man who is most anchored in himself, the man who has a direction and pursues it regardless of her presence or absence, the man who has standards and holds them even when it costs him the interaction, the man who lives inside a reality so compelling that she wants to enter it, not the man who dismantles his reality to enter hers. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret." But deeper than that, he understood that the prince who lost his frame lost his throne, every time, without exception. The fox could be clever, the lion could be fierce, but the sovereign, the man who held his frame under maximum pressure, was the most dangerous creature in the room, not because he was the strongest, but because he was the most certain. And certainty, real certainty, earned through self-mastery and purpose, is the rarest and most magnetic quality a human being can possess. Define your non-negotiables, write them down, enforce them, pursue your mission with or without her. When she tests your frame, and she will, hold it without hostility, calmly, certainly, without explanation. The man who over-explains his boundaries doesn't believe them himself. The sovereign doesn't explain, he simply is. Build a life so aligned with your values that any woman who enters it either rises to meet it or self-selects out. Both outcomes serve you. Let's bring this together, because this is where most videos end and where your transformation actually begins. You came into this video operating on lies, not malicious lies, comfortable ones. The lie that good intentions translate to attraction. The lie that emotional transparency is always a virtue. The lie that persistence equals devotion. The lie that being available means being valuable. Every single one of those lies was costing you position, respect, and genuine connection. And now, you know better. You understand that women don't respond to your intentions. They respond to your reality. You understand that emotional stoicism is architecture, not coldness. You understand that chasing is surrender. That information asymmetry is the invisible battlefield you've been losing on. That validation seeking is a covert contract nobody signed. That mystery is a weapon you've been disarming yourself of. And that without a sovereign frame, all of it is temporary. Here is what is at stake if you choose to ignore this. You will spend the next decade repeating the same patterns, different women, same outcomes, more rejection that you'll misread as bad luck, more connections that corrode because you never understood the foundation, more years operating on a map that doesn't match the territory. The hyenas will keep feeding on men who don't understand these dynamics. The wolves will keep holding frame while everyone else collapses. Which one are you? That is not a rhetorical question. That is the only question that matters right now. The men who watch this video and act on it, their relationships transform, not because they become manipulators, but because they become real, anchored, purposeful, impossible to move. That is what women have always responded to. Not the performance of strength, but the reality of it. If this video gave you one thing you needed to hear, drop a like right now. It costs you nothing. It tells the algorithm this content is worth protecting. Subscribe if you want to go deeper, because we are just getting started. Every week, new principles, new frameworks, new levels of strategic clarity. This channel is not for everyone. It is for the men who are done being comfortable with defeat. And finally, if you are ready to claim the sovereign frame, if you are done operating on lies, drop one word in the comments below. Write sovereign and mean it, not as performance, as declaration. Because the man who can state it publicly has already started becoming it. I'll see you in the next one. Stay dangerous.